I want to talk next about how to sell a home with a tenant. And this is really important. If you're a landlord out there, if you're somebody that owns real estate and you want to sell a property and it has a tenant in it, I can tell you they plan to deal with some frustrations. The tenant doesn't have a vested interest in the sale. The tenant isn't going to likely keep the home as nice as a homeowner. And again, a lot of these are assumptions. It's not always true. But you're going to have to deal with some obstacles with that. The tenant doesn't want to be inconvenienced at any time of day. They want certain amounts of notice. You've got legal obligations with the lease that you have with the tenant. So there's certainly some hoops to jump through, but I want to give you some tips about how to sell a home with the tenant in it. The first thing is ask, make sure to talk to the tenants, make sure they know what's going. Talk to them about it, make sure they know what's happening, work out a game plan. Discuss a plan with the tenants as the owner and with your broker. Some of those plans may include some sort of incentive for the tenant to not turn down showings, or some sort of modification of the lease that allows shorter notice showings, or some sort of understanding of what the tenant's expected travel plans are. Let's say the tenant's going on a 2 or 3 week vacation. Hey, guess what? That's probably a good time to put the home on the market, So I think also knowing what's in that lease. What are the terms of it? When is it up? What kind of notice you can give? Knowing the type of property and discussing that with your broker is really important. Is it a property that's likely going to be bought by another investor, or is it a property that's going to be bought by someone that wants to move into it? Those are determining factors too. Getting the tenant on board, though, is really crucial, because if the tenant isn't on board, and let's say they have a 48-hour or 24-hour notice clause in the lease, you're going to miss out on a lot of showings. You're going to miss people that want to see it right then. You're going to miss people that have a smaller window, and every missed showing is a missed opportunity for an offer or a contract. So you want to do everything you can to shorten that timeline and get the tenant on the same page. Your lease likely has terms in it that allow you to access, but some of those access timelines are rather significant and don't necessarily align with the convenience that's needed to get a home sold. Another thing that's really important is working with the tenants to make sure when the photos and video are taken that the house is really tip-top shape. Even if that includes you hiring a cleaner to clean the home for the tenant. And then really doing what you can to help the tenant keep the property clean. If that includes you hiring a house cleaner during the time the home's on the market, so be it. Cost of doing business, it might be $150 a month, but if it gets you more money in the sale of the home, or actually gets the home sold for you, then it's certainly something to look at. But more than anything, one of the things that's been the best thing for us is offering an incentive to the tenant. Tell the tenant you'll give them a credit off of the rent every week goes by that they don't turn down a showing, or every month, or whatever your lease is structured. Find a way to have them feel like they have financial benefit, because otherwise all you're doing is inconveniencing them and not giving them any benefit out of it. They probably don't want to move. They don't want to deal with the hassle and inconvenience. They don't have any vested interest. So you have to find a way to get the tenant to comply. And if you say, oh, well, the lease says 24-hour notice, so I'm just going to stick to that, and they're going to have to honor it, good luck. Because what's in that lease doesn't necessarily mean that's what happens in the real world. Yeah, they provided access, but there was cat feces everywhere, and there was crap everywhere, and no one wanted to see that house, so they honored the terms of the lease by providing access, but you ain't going to sell the home like that. So you really have to have an open conversation. We've had sellers who have said, let's list the home, and I'll tell the tenant after the sign goes up. And I'm like, you were just asking for trouble. That is just, well, I'll deal with the tenant. No, it just doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, you just lost your chance to sell the house. It's going to be a nightmare. So those are some tips. Hopefully they're helpful for you, but if you're thinking about selling your home with a tenant in it, it does take a little bit of a different approach, and you got to work with the tenant to make sure that the property is best shown, and it's shown in its best light, and you get the best access possible.